Today I want to talk to you about what it's like to be a rebel without a car in Los Angeles. About 3 years or so ago, I got into a little car accident. Somebody T-boned me, ran a red light. They did, not me. They ran a red light and totaled my car, nearly totaled me in the process. And I thought to myself, I'm going to just see what it's like to not have a car. I'm going to give myself like 6 months, maybe a year at most, just to try it out, just as an experiment, to see what it's like to live without a car. I should add that for many years, I had heard people say you have to have a car in LA. There's no way you can get around without a car. And I kind of took that for granted, but I started to think that, there's so many options today that it just might be feasible to not have a car in LA. And so I decided to give it a shot, and here it's been 3 years later, and I still am a rebel without a car. And I don't have any plans to get a car anytime soon. I've thought about it, but here's one thing I'll tell you right now that you really start to realize, I think, when you have had a car and then you get rid of the car, and now you're living without it, is you realize that there is an upside and a downside to damn near everything in life. And is it a cool thing to have a car? Is it good? Is it convenient? Is it helpful? Yes. Does it also have drawbacks? Yes. And oftentimes you don't even realize what those drawbacks are until you get rid of it. I have to say, one thing that I feel about being carless is actually I feel a great sense of freedom in a lot of ways. That might seem strange. People might not understand that, but it's not until you get rid of your car that you realize there's a kind of freedom that you haven't even really explored yet. Let me just say some of the downsides that I've come to realize about owning a car. The positives are obvious. The negatives, surprisingly, are not so obvious until, like I said, you don't have the car anymore. And one of the big things that you start to notice when you don't have a car is, first and foremost, the expense of having a car. You don't realize how expensive it is to have a car until you get rid of it. And for many years, I thought, well, I have to have a car because I need it for work, right? Because I have to have a car in order to make money. The car is necessary for me to make money. And what you come to realize is that the car is actually costing you a lot of money. You can actually save a lot of money by getting rid of the car. You don't realize all the money that's going into this thing. I mean, aside from the cost of the car itself, you got to pay for gas, you got to pay for oil changes, of course, registration every year, a lot of little things. One thing in LA, if you have a car and you park it on the street, especially overnight, your car is going to get broken into. Now, if you're smart, you're not going to put anything valuable in your car, but still, they'll still break into your car. They'll still smash the window, which means now you got to go get the window replaced. And that's just part of the cost of doing business, you might say. A lot of little things, upkeep, something's wrong with the fan belt, tires, tire rotation. Then, of course, there's parking. And the thing that I'm noticing now is, my God, you can't park anywhere anymore in LA practically without paying for it. I'm out at the beach here right now, and if you think that you're going to come to the beach and you're going to park in a lot and not pay for it, you are sadly mistaken. If you come to the beach and you park your car in a lot, you are paying money for it. Down by the pier, I don't even know how much. I think it's like $7, $8 for a lot of the lots here. Down by the pier, it's $12 now. I think you could park there probably all day. But still, once upon a time, you used to be able to park your car and then just, lock the door and walk away. Now you have to go to the machine to put money into it. And I am not a fan of paying for parking. That just rubs me the wrong way. I just don't like that because I feel like I'm not really, it's not a service, it's not a product. What am I? I'm paying for the privilege to literally, park my car. And I'm just not crazy about that. So again, that's one of those things that's just, they nickel and dime you to death with the parking meters and the parking garages and the valet parking. And don't even get me started on that. I think I've probably valet parked a car maybe 3 times in my life because I don't like the idea of handing car keys over to a complete stranger who's then going to drive my car somewhere to park it. And they've done exposés on these valet parkers. You know what, they'll use people's cars like as a shuttle to, like, if because oftentimes they don't have a lot where they're parking, so they have to park it around the area, maybe several blocks. And you'll see the guy walking back, he has to walk back several blocks, so one of the other guys will use somebody's car to go pick him up. Well, that's not what you're giving them the car for. You're giving them the car to park it, and yet they're using your car to transport their own people around. So all that stuff, it just rubs me the wrong way. I don't like it at all. Plus, of course, then there's the whole issue of parking tickets, and don't get me started on that. That is just, it's crazy. It's crazy how easy it is to get parking tickets. In fact, the street that I live on, they did a study of, they evaluated all the various parking tickets that are given out in a year, and they listed the streets that are the most prone for parking tickets, and my street was like number 6 in LA. The parking authority just has found certain streets that they can get a lot of people to give tickets on. So, and that's what it's all about. It's just about giving out tickets, for anything. And if the meter is like 1 minute over, you're getting a ticket. I don't know how they can be on it so fast. Same thing with the street cleaning, and that's another thing. They're moving the car. In my area, street cleaning is on Monday and Tuesday. Sunday night, everybody's parked on the one side of the street, because if you try to move your car Monday morning, you're not going to have any space. You're not going to be able to move it. There's not going to be any spaces left. So that's a whole hassle I don't have to worry about anymore. So there's a lot of these things that cost money and also waste your time that are attached to having a car. And like I said, it's not until you get rid of the damn thing that you really start to appreciate just all these little things. And then when you don't have a car, then you suddenly realize, hey, wait, I don't have to worry about the parking and the street cleaning and the tickets. I laugh now when I see the parking authority coming around. In fact, sometimes what they'll do is they'll see you there. Like if you're near the car, they'll ask you, they'll say, "Is this your car?" And I'm just like, "Nope, not mine." And you go right ahead, put that ticket on there. Nope, I'm not going to try to fight you. That's not my car. So that's the kind of the downside of owning a car. Now, what's the upside to not having a car? First of all, to answer the obvious question, how do I get around if I don't have a car? Well, I walk, first of all. I do a tremendous amount of walking. I love walking, actually. Walking is wonderful, wonderful exercise. Gets you out, gets you moving. It's really great. I love it. If I'm not walking, I'm riding buses. I have recently really started to use the train a lot. Now there's the subway, but then there's also like what they call that Expo line train. It's all part of the same system. And they have a wonderful system for paying the fare. You can get what we call a tap card, which is an electronic card. And for a while there I was getting passes, like a 7-day pass or a 30-day pass. But I discovered that you actually, in most cases, don't need to do that. You can put money on the card, and they have a system where if you tap the card, like your first, well, let's say you get on a bus. You tap that card, let's say at noon. You have up until 2 o'clock to jump on any other bus, any other subway, any other train, and it's all covered under that $1.75. So you could conceivably go from, let's say, Hollywood, take a bus down to the Expo Line train, take the train into Santa Monica, jump off the train, and then jump onto a bus to Malibu. As long as you tap that last bus, within 2 hours, even though the bus ride may take you over 2 hours, it's all on $1.75. So you can go from Hollywood all the way to Malibu for $1.75. Now it's going to take a while. It's going to take a long time to get there, but still, $1.75 to get to Malibu from Hollywood, that's like insane. I mean, if you can take an Uber or something like that, you can calculate that on Google Maps or whatever. But so I do that a lot. And of course, now with the smartphone apps, it's really easy to see what buses are coming when, what bus you need to get on. You can just, I use Google Maps a lot. There's also an app that I have that shows the real-time arrivals. That's very, very helpful to have. And I use that a lot now. So again, I don't even get passes anymore. I just put the money on the card, and wherever I'm going, it's pretty much like $1.75 to go like anywhere. And LA does have a really good bus system, train system, subway system. You can get a lot of places, not necessarily everywhere, but you can get a lot of places, especially if you don't mind walking. Now, another thing I've added into the mix recently, you may have seen some of my recent videos where I was talking about the Santa Monica bike system. Santa Monica has a wonderful public bike system. They have these kind of self-serve hubs around Santa Monica. You get a membership for $99 for a year, and it entitles you to a 90-minute ride every day, up to 90 minutes, and you can break it up. You can do 2 45-minute rides or whatever. It's just a total of 90 minutes a day, and if you go over, you can pay a little bit extra. That's actually more of just kind of a fun thing and an exercise thing. It's not so much transportation for me, but I can see how people who live in Santa Monica, spend a lot of time in Santa Monica, or West Hollywood. I'm not a member of the West Hollywood one, but if you live there, a lot of people, they use the bikes to get to work. The point is, there are other options. And, one thing I mentioned, the downside of having a car. One other kind of downside about driving is just the traffic. And one of the nice things, for instance, about the train and the subway is that you bypass all of that. And walking, too, for that matter. I see oftentimes the very frustrated drivers lined up there. And in fact, I was up in Santa Monica here about a week or so ago, and there was just a long line of cars. They were all just sitting there, and there was a woman with the window rolled down, and she was just like leaning out the window and just yelling, come on, let's go. I wanted to say, they're going as fast as they can. I mean, believe me, if people could move faster, they would, but they can't. They're just sitting there. And again, when you're on foot, especially, you feel free. You feel like you're not chained to that. Now, there are downsides too, believe me. Sometimes the buses are overly crowded. That's true. Sometimes the people who are on the buses are not the most desirable types of people. You do get all kinds on the bus, and then the train and the subway and so on and so forth. So again, upsides and downsides. I will say, since I have gotten rid of the car, getting around has definitely been more of an adventure. And I will say this too, you feel more like you're part of the world when you have to, use your wits a little bit more. Like, you have to plan out how you're going to get somewhere. Well, let's see. Am I going to walk? Am I going to take the bus? Am I going to take the train? Am I going to, rent a bike from this kiosk and bike to this other kiosk? You feel like you're experiencing the world more. For a lot of people who have cars, that's just the default thing. Get in the car and drive. Get in the car. Get on the freeway. And you definitely see more. You experience more. You feel more like a citizen of the city and the world, dare I say, when you are walking and taking public transportation and whatnot. And I'll also say this too, I think it's a lot healthier. I've been really amazed. I've been checking my heart rate in the morning. I checked it the other morning. It was down to 52. Now, with heart rate, basically you want it as low as possible. I mean, aside from it being 0, you want it to be low. You want to have a low heart rate, because the lower your heart rate, the more efficient your heart is. And heart rate or pulse is a very key index of overall fitness of your body. And most people's resting heart rate is what you want to check for in this connection, at least. Most people, it's between 60 and 100. But if you look at the American Heart Association's website, they'll say well-conditioned athletes can have a heart rate between 40 and 60. Well, mine has the lowest I've seen it has been 52. It's oftentimes around 54, 57, 58. That puts me into the well-conditioned athlete category, and I'm not an athlete at all. I do a lot of walking. I do spend now a lot of time outside, outdoors. To me, actually, walking has become very, very easy. I mean, I've always been into walking. But now, like, I'll do 6 hours on the beach, no problem. I mean, 6 hours walking on the beach, no problem at all. Then the time just flies by. So I love it. I love being outside. You get fresh air. You have to watch the sun, especially if you're light skinned like me. With the Celtic skin, we do have to be careful. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy. I love it, actually. Again, upsides and downsides, but I would say overall, in this day and age, you don't have to have a car. It's not necessary, and in fact, in a lot of ways, it can be kind of a millstone around your neck, so to speak. So those are just a few thoughts of mine. If you have any thoughts about getting around without a car, any special tips or insights that you have, feel free to share them. Leave a comment, and I will talk to you later. Take care.